What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look. Just got myself a new poster of Pops hanging up there. Looking good, looking sexy. Take a look. Should be pretty undeniable that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Oh, I'm feeling good. And of course, everybody in the house, including Pops, everybody looking good, including you all out there. You know how I get the job done, kids. Right there. Get it, use it, love it. Coming to you as always from the Lavender Lounge of Love. Look at this place, my utopia. And joined as always by my right-hand man, the Keith Hernandez puppet. We are, of course, bringing you the No Frills podcast. You don't get no frills because we don't know how to give them to you. That's the straight, honest truth. But you do get thrills, and that's looking at this face, the face of the second greatest frontman to ever do this rock and roll thing. Hardest working man in show business. And if you're watching this right now, please like and subscribe to the Pod Scum YouTube channel, and be sure to check us out on Facebook. That's right. They even allow us lowly Pod Scum onto Facebook. What Mark Zuckerberg won't allow to have happen on there in order to make a buck, huh? There goes the neighborhood. But what can you do? And of course, I am still looking for virtuoso level players for my glam metal sleaze band, Love Sword. Nobody seems to want to take me up on it. Everybody seems a little intimidated by working with such a legendary frontman. Of course, my legendary status is inherited, but I can still get up on the stage and back it up. So I'm not sitting back on my laurels, just skating by on the old man's name. And speaking of that, I was on the phone with my attorneys today, and DNA testing, we're almost at the finish line, folks. We're going to prove this thing. And a lot of people are going to owe Rex Ruger an apology, an engraved apology. They are going to say, Rex, we never should have doubted you. We never should have doubted you. So we will see. But tonight, I'm very excited. Our guest is here right now, and I can't wait to chop it up with him, man. This is going to be a good episode of Pod Scum, man. So let's get him in here and do this thing. Where is he? How are you, my friend? Do I got you there?
Hey, what's happening?
There he is. I can always tell when I'm talking to another New Yorker. I always think we can kind of sniff each other out. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. I was recently talking to another drummer, Joe Cangelosi. He played on a Creator album. He's doing Carnivore AD right now. He's bounced around, but the minute he comes on, you just know when you're on with another New Yorker. It's just like we're our own breed. I mean, Danny LAMAGNA.
Where are you?
I said that right, didn't I? Danny LAMAGNA?
Yeah.
I was trying to equate it, and of course, no disrespect, but I'm looking at the word and I'm thinking lasagna. Lasagna. I gotta go lasagna. Yeah. I'm in upstate
New York. So do you remember we had the Congress guy?
Yeah.
That was his slogan, rhymes with lasagna.
Yeah. So first of all, right off the rip, I think people would certainly know you by Sworn Enemy. But how did you land in Agnostic Front? I take it probably just from being in the hardcore scene that you had a prior history, or obviously you knew those guys.
So yeah, I mean I knew them, but it kind of came up. So Roger's neighbor is this guy Lawrence Custers that I've been friends with for years and years and years, and we run in like a bunch of different circles, and when it came time for them to possibly need a drummer, Lawrence was like, hey, you should call Danny. And, that kind of just happened from him. It's not really a crazy story or anything like that. Roger just kind of talked to Lawrence and was like, oh, all right. So Roger called me and asked if I was available. I said yes, and that was pretty much it. You know,
is there a way to say no? Is there a way to say no to hardcore legends like Agnostic Front, though? I mean,
that's a funny thing, because one of my friends was asking me about this, and he goes, oh, that's just how it works in hardcore. They tell you you're in the band now. And I was like, yeah, he never asked if I like wanted to play. He was like, are you available? All right, good. You're going to do this now. You know?
But you know, obviously, you know, you being in this hardcore world, and I've had a couple of other guys from hardcore bands on here. I'm interested to get your take though on, like, you know, because hardcore is certainly, at least for me, it's very synonymous with a blue collar, a workman-like ethic, a certain ethos. You know, do you think that that's gotten lost over the years? Because when I think of hardcore, you know, I certainly think of the Agnostic Fronts, the Crow Mags, like these guys that are, you know, and especially reading Roger's book, these guys from the Lower East Side, you know, very gritty, very workman-like attitudes. You know, does that ethos still exist in today's world?
I think it absolutely does. And I think you said a word in there, like the workman type, you know, a lot of these guys are hard workers, man. Like they tour and then they go home and they work their day job or whatever they do outside of music. And then when it's time to go play, they go right back out and play. There's so many guys in hardcore bands that like work just so they can go play. And I feel like in metal bands, there's a lot more money to go around maybe. And a lot of people won't have to, like, you know, struggle and do a million things like we do in the hardcore scene. So I think that kind of just, you know, adds to the grittiness of it. And, you know, I don't think that anything's been lost. I think everybody that, you know, plays this kind of music has the same situation. You know, you're just barely scraping by to like make music work.
Right. And does that ethos and the attitude also translate into like newer hardcore bands? Obviously, I get what you're saying. It still exists with the legendary hardcore bands, but, you know, is it being transferred over to like newer bands? Are there bands out there flying the flag and keeping that ethos alive?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, some of those, I mean, it's hard for me to talk about younger bands because like I'm much younger than AF is, you know?
Yeah.
That band predates me by so many years, but I watch like my friends' bands who are like my age bracket and younger. I feel like they all pretty, you know, they work pretty hard. They all have a pretty good work ethic. Nobody, you know, nobody complains when things don't go their way. They just try again harder.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. I saw AF last year for some reason, though, I don't quite remember. Would you have been in the band around that time, or was it still Pokey? I don't even remember. But you guys were on. I saw you in Syracuse, to Lost Horizon. You guys were Sick of It All, and Danny Diablo, or Crown of Thorns.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah,
you were. Yeah. And you know, I find it remarkable. You know, obviously a huge testament to, like, you know, everything that Roger's been through. Obviously he's battled cancer, and I mean, you know, probably very easy for him to want to say, oh, geez, what am I still going to do this for? You know what I mean? Let me focus on my health or whatever. Still hitting it as fucking hard as ever, though.
Yeah, we actually, as a band, we're just talking about that on this last tour we did. Because Roger is still going through some medical shit, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, we traveled very uncomfortably on our last trip.
Yeah.
And he didn't complain or flinch or anything. And the whole time I was like, man, there's no way this guy is comfortable. But he doesn't say a word about it. He just, you know, goes about his day, gets through it, plays the show.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. I've been real lucky that I've gotten to work and play with some real troopers.
Yeah.
You know, people that don't piss and complain about things. Just go play the show. Get to the next show. That's all that matters, you know?
And you know, obviously you certainly have like the greatest of morale boosters though around you, and a guy like Vinny Stigma, though, a guy who's just not aging at all. I mean, he might be the guy that's discovered the fountain of youth. I mean, he's got more exuberance and more energy than guys that are out there that are like a third of his age.
Yeah, he's bouncing off the walls all the time, man.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I actually, you know, like I knew him a little bit, but when we started rehearsing and stuff like that and hanging out, he was like one person that I got to know. And then like the day that we went on tour, boom, that switch flipped on and he became somebody else.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, like where did all this extra energy come from?
Yeah. He's one of those larger than life characters in that scene though, for sure. You know, like,
yeah, man. And he's on 24/7. Like that's who he is. You know?
And what was your upbringing like? When did you first get a set of drumsticks in your hand and kind of, really feel like music was something you really wanted to explore?
Well, First set of drums was June 1990, and I only know that because I have the receipt in my bookcase back here. So somewhere around then is when I started playing the drums. I think I had drum pads and some stuff like that before, but like the drum set, that was like, that was the first time that thing showed up was around June 1990. I think I was like 10 or 11 or something like that.
Yeah. And did you have support? And did you have supportive parents? Because a lot of times, when the kid says, "I'm going to take up the drums," the parents are like, "Oh God, really? The fucking drums?"
I was a hyperactive, ADHD, all over the place kid, and the hope was that the drums would chill me out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it did because I don't remember life before the drums.
Right.
But it was their idea, man, and they've been real big supporters. Like I have a real close aunt and uncle. I have a real close godmother and godfather, and my parents, like they have been such supporters of everything I've done. Buying tickets, helping support the bands.
Yeah.
My dad even, he's co-signed on a van loan for me at one point.
Yeah.
And just letting me have drums and band members. Like my parents' place is our flop house. Like AF hasn't done this before, but like Sworn Enemy, like those guys used to fly into New York and crash with my parents.
Yeah.
This was like our hub for like many bands going back.
Yeah. And now
Crown of Thorns used to come here to rehearse.
And now forgive me for not knowing, but are you still a member of Sworn Enemy?
I am not.
Okay.
I've been out of that band for quite some time.
Okay, okay, so it wasn't getting the AF gig then.
No, I had. It's probably been 8 or 9 years since I played with Sworn Enemy. I'm really not sure, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. But you still maintain good relationships with all the guys, though.
I hardly ever see anybody. I run into the guitar player every now and again. I'll see him somewhere. I haven't really seen Sal or anybody. I think the last time I saw anybody was maybe at the Life of Agony show at the Paramount, and that's pre-COVID, man. So it's been like 5 years since I've seen anybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up COVID. What was that period like for you, going back a couple of years? Did that derail anything that you had going on? If you can tap back into like 2020, did that derail anything or throw a wrench in anything that you had going on in the works at that time? What was that period like for you?
Well, I was supposed to be playing with AF during COVID. We had tours booked and everything, and they got canceled, obviously. But it kind of helped me in a bit because it gave us time to rehearse. I really, really got to work on the songs. Yeah. So Gallo and Vinny used to come out to my apartment in Westbury, and we had a studio in the basement, and we would just jam like once or twice a week. And we did that for like almost the entire length of COVID, because we didn't have anything else to do. So, Mike made the decision that he was going to come out, and we were like really going to nail these songs down. And instead of just like knowing the songs that I needed for whatever the first tour we were going to do, I ended up learning everything that they play. Yeah. And it's a lot of songs, man. It's like 40 or 50 songs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We use that time very wisely. At least I think we do. Well, we did. And what else did I do? I put out a solo record during COVID. It's instrumental, like, jazz fusion, prog rock, dickery kind of stuff. Yeah. So my teaching, that's what I do for my real job, is I teach music lessons. That all went remote, and I got to work from home. So I know COVID was real bad for a lot of people, but it really wasn't that awful for me.
Yeah. And now, do you still do the drum lessons, from home? Is it a remote thing, or are you back to kind of like having like live, actual students coming in and working hands-on with them in person?
I have some students that are still remote if they live far away, but if you are, within a 20-mile radius, we're back to in person, and we've been that way for a very long time. Yeah.
And you mastered the drums yourself, but how do you segue into teaching? Is that something you had a passion for, or just something that was just like a means to an end to kind of, to kind of pay the bills?
Well, the way I fell into teaching is kind of interesting. The same place that I got my drum set from, I had taken lessons from when I was a kid, and it was a mom and pop shop. It's called Oceanside Music. It was run by John and Lori Ciamello, and they were third generation owners. So actually, they were second generation owners. Their kids had come in, and they were going to be the third generation. So this is a family-run business for over 50 years. Yeah. So I had been working at Dairy Barn up the street from my parents when I was in high school, and I went in there to buy drumsticks or something, and John was like, "Hey, when you turn 18, come back. I'll give you a job teaching." So I didn't really think much of it. And I turned up after graduation and he was like, so are you ready to start teaching? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, we talked about this. I want you to work here. So I quit Dairy Barn and I started teaching drum lessons. And I really didn't have any experience teaching before that. I just kind of taught the way my teachers before that taught me.
Yeah.
And I knew I liked hanging out with other drummers, and I knew I didn't mind putting up with kids that, had zero patience and zero attention, because I saw that in myself.
Sure. Yeah.
And it just kind of ended up being like, a real easy way to make money as opposed to like managing Dairy Barn,
Yeah. And you see
hang out and play drums.
And do you see any of the kids come in? Do any of them give off that vibe or show any interest in being hardcore kids themselves?
Well, this is actually kind of funny. I really don't talk. I don't cross my lives at all. So
right.
My students don't know shit about what I'm doing when I'm not at work.
Right.
So a couple of months ago, one of them graduated, went off to school in Nashville, and he sends me an email. He's like, how come we never talked about all the hardcore bands you played in? And I was like, well, honestly, it's mostly because of the lyrical content. Like, it's probably not appropriate for me to teach you songs that have these kinds of words in them.
Right.
So he was kind of upset with me. He's like, I didn't know about any of this stuff. And, I wish you had led me to it because you're all over it. And, I could have learned a lot about it from you.
Yeah.
So sometimes they find out. You know, this kid's got a really good band now. They're called Zion's Blood. And I'm excited for him. Like, it's not just because it's my student. Like, I listened to it and I was like, whoa. I was like, you guys are good. Like, this is cool.
And it's hardcore.
It's hardcore. It's my students. Yeah, they're not like the same punk hardcore. They're a little bit more metal.
Yeah,
it's really good stuff, especially for a bunch of 18-year-olds.
And as you mentioned earlier, you go through and you learn all these agnostic front songs, and it's certainly, it goes without saying, man, like they are, certainly OGs in that world, legends. They have a lot of songs. Are there ones that you really love playing up there, though, from a personal standpoint?
Old New York.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah,
man. That's a lot of the anthemic.
Yeah, that's like an anthem. They got a lot of good anthemic stuff.
Yeah, man. The songs that I love playing the most are the ones that the crowd sings with,
Yeah.
Like, it's real easy to get into a song when you see a bunch of people yelling it back at you.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes you just play it,
Yeah.
Like, we're in sync. I don't have to think too much. We're just going. So, right out the gate, that's one. Gotta Go is pretty wild, too. I don't know if you saw any of the footage from Grass Pop that I put up last week.
Yes.
Like, the amount of people that, when Roger just does that vocal intro, hearing that many people just yell it back at him is crazy.
It was pretty crazy because I actually had some technical difficulties here in my makeshift studio here, and long story short, I lost about 5 or 6 episodes that I had in my Google Drive, and one of them was with Craig. And so, but he's been gracious enough to, I think now that he's back home, he's been gracious enough to, I reached out to all the 5 or 6 people that I lost their interviews, and they've all been pretty receptive and like, that fucking sucks. But yeah, I'll run it back with you again and have another conversation with you. So yeah, I have to get with Craig though, but so
he's great, man. Yeah,
another guy another guy to have a great conversation with though, because he's been down that road in that hardcore world and
so many bands,
seen and done a lot,
and he's up from Boston, so he's got the other epicenter of hardcore is up there,
And when you make this a solo album, I'm interested, like, what's your own personal creative process like? Because I talk to a lot of musicians on here, and I always see it's like one of two trains of thought. It's either these guys that are just they're humming riffs into their phone, they're jotting shit down all day long, or they have much more of a discipline and they say, for the next 5 hours, I'm going to go in this room and I'm going to write music. Like, which kind are you?
So I've been trying to schedule my life down to the minute the best I can.
Yeah.
So I have points in the day where okay, I'm going to work on songs that I'm writing right now.
Yeah.
And when that clock runs out, no matter where I'm at, it's time to put it to bed and go on to the next task.
Yeah.
So I kind of scheduled myself, an hour every morning, like 9 to 10. That's working on my solo music, whether it be writing or cleaning up tracks that I wrote the day before, whatever it is, like that time is just for that. The phone's down. It doesn't matter if there's a chore to be done or something else needs to happen during that hour. That hour is that hour.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that with a lot of other things like exercising, learning to play other instruments, learning to play agnostic front stuff. I've got a pinch hit coming up with Walls of Jericho in September. So part of that hour for practice time is, learning relearning the Walls of Jericho stuff.
Yeah.
So I've become very regimented, and I think that's the only way I can do things, because otherwise I will literally sit all day and work on one thing and not realize that the whole day's been done.
Yeah, like a tunnel vision.
All of a sudden it's like 3 o'clock and I'm like, shit, I'm late for work.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, when you do a solo album, you know, obviously you're doing this great work in bands or whatever, but like, what's the, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, what's the itch that's not being scratched in the band work that, you know, that makes you want to pursue a solo album?
Well, the thing is, for me, is I play a lot of odd time music, and
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of progressive music and instrumental music and soundtrack music.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, if I'm listening to music, you know, it's usually like a soundtrack to something, you know, like trying to think of like some of the movie soundtracks I really dig, like the Fifth Element soundtrack. Where lately I've been listening to that last Wolverine movie that came out. It's called Logan. The soundtrack to that, you know, like I dig stuff like that, and that's kind of the stuff that I write. And it doesn't necessarily happen with people. Like, there's no way I'm going to put a band together that's going to sound like an orchestra.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I play synthesizer and I play keyboards and I play mallet instruments in addition to drums. So it's just kind of like a way for me to use the other instruments, because I'm definitely not good enough to play keyboard in the band. I don't really think I even want to, but I'm good enough to play keyboard in the Pro Tools and then edit it and turn it into something that's, you know, maybe kind of listenable.
Yeah. And when you're going to create music, what's the impetus for, like, what kind of inspires you? Like, are you somebody that gets ideas from, like, you know, from, you know, movies or books, or you're like a news guy? Like, when you're going to get like, and I realize you're talking just like you know, you're doing an instrumental album, but still, you know, same question though. Like, what kind of, like, you know, spurs that creativity?
Comes from a lot of different places. Sometimes I'll just have an idea, but most of the time it's a rhythmic idea. It'll be something that's too weird to do in a rock band or a hardcore band, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it'll be some kind of odd time thing that I'll kick over to a friend and they'll be like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, all right, I guess I have to figure out how to use this myself.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of it's that. A lot of it's rhythmic devices, or, you know, as I'm traveling through music, I'm a, you know, I'm not good with music theory, but it's something I'm very interested in. So sometimes I'll learn a music theory technique or a scale or something like that. I'm like, all right, let me see if I can turn this into something, you know, that sounds like music instead of just being an exercise. So it's kind of me experimenting with things I'm learning at the time.
And do you remember, like, what the first you know, the first extreme music, or the first hardcore, whether it was a song, an artist, or an album that really resonated with you and really kind of got you excited about the particular kind of music that you're known for playing?
So the first memory that popped into my head when you asked me that was I had already found Slayer. Yeah. And I was like so into that. Yeah. I was watching Headbangers Ball and Sepultura came on. Yeah. And my head exploded.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of them too.
Love them. Embryonic Cells came on and I was just like, what is that?
Yeah. Like, and of course, as a drummer, you must geek out. I mean, Igor's great. I mean, you talked about Slayer. Obviously, Dave Lombardo goes without saying, but I mean, Igor Cavalera just does he doesn't get mentioned up in that pantheon of great drummers always, but he should be, though.
People who know.
People who know, yeah.
You're right. He's not a household name, and he really, I mean, it's a crime that he isn't. Yeah. So that's the first. So that's really the first song that really made you kind of like stand up and take notice of extreme metal. Yeah, that's got to be it. I mean, around that time, I mean, I guess Altars of Madness had come out already, but like Morbid Angel hadn't turned into like the beast that they became at that point. Yeah. You know, Deicide Legion hadn't come out yet. I mean, those are the foundationary extreme metal records, at least as far as I can tell. And so you like stuff with a fast beat to it, though. I mean, like that's where that's really what kind of That's the cool thing about AF is that Slayer beats all over everything. You know? Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you know, so speaking from a fan standpoint,
you know, you've been doing this a long time, so I don't like to always word it where people ask that age old, oh, who are your influences, you know? But who are some guys, you know, as a fan who's drumming you like and appreciate, you know, like when you hear them playing, you know, whether it's on a CD or the radio or something, you know, where you really stand up and take notice and really appreciate their drumming?
All right, it's pretty easy because I think about that all the time because I'm, you know, always readdressing my foundation.
Right.
So early on, you know, Danny from Biohazard.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic drummer.
Yeah.
Igor from Sepultura.
Yep.
Pete from Morbid Angel. Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains actually has been one of my favorites since the first time I heard him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dave Lombardo, you know.
Yeah.
And later on, Paul Bostaff. You know,
Yeah.
both of those guys were like, you know, huge influences on me. And then later on in life, you know, I started getting more into, you know, the jazz drummers, because that's pretty much what happens. If you're going to play music, especially drums, long enough, you have to start listening to some of the jazz drummers.
Yeah.
Because it's where the drum set came from, you know?
Yeah,
the drum set wasn't invented for rock. It was invented for jazz.
Yeah.
So going back and, like, you know, finding all the old jazz drummers and stuff like that was super important to me. You know, like Roy Haynes, Tony Williams,
Yeah.
Art Blakey, all those guys. And then while I was in high school, like guys like Terry Bozzio and Virgil Donati started doing like these drum clinics. So you could just go watch these like super drummers play drums for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So those guys, like, you know, really, really opened my head up.
Yeah.
Joel Rosenblatt from Spyro Gyra. I saw him do a drum clinic when I was like 12.
Yeah.
I still clearly remember him playing these 4-way coordination things that just, I don't even understand now, you know?
Yeah. and obviously when you go out with the Agnostic Front, you know, even despite the fact that they've been doing this a long time, you know, they're still road warriors, man. Like they're still out there, like with a pretty intense schedule for guys that have been doing it as long as they have. I mean, you would say so? I mean, you know, that's quite a bit of touring. And, you know, as we mentioned, you know, a lot of guys get to that point in their career and they start dialing it back a little bit. Not those guys, though.
No, pedal to the metal, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, like they play a lot of places that are like small, but so many people get crammed into it. And those are like some of the best shows. You know?
Yeah. When I saw you guys, it was at the Lost Horizon, and that's a dive bar out here in Syracuse. Not a big place by any means, you know, I mean.
Yeah, we play a lot of those, man. And we have a good time at them.
Is it hard, though? And I don't think this probably happens with Agnostic Front a lot, because I think when their name goes up on the marquee, you know, as you said, people will pack a club. But have you ever, in all your days of playing, you know, worst case scenario is, you know, you come out, you hit the stage, you know, maybe this has happened with Sworn Enemy, you know, you come out there, you're jazzed up to play, and there's like fucking 10 fucking drunks out there, or like fucking, you know, 8 kids in the fucking audience. And if that has happened to you, how do you get the mindset to get geared up to play a show like that?
Well, I'll tell you what, my favorite Sworn Enemy show, I think, was in Kokomo, Indiana.
Okay.
We played at this gigantic freaking hall. Somebody didn't do their homework, because even if we were drawing crowds, not that big.
You wouldn't have filled.
There was like 10 people there. I'm not even lying. There was like, I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
10 people against the barricade with their hands up. Yeah. And we had a blast that night. And I still am in contact with like, you know, 6 or 7 people from that show. So sometimes those small shows end up being like the place where you make friends at, you know? The band that I was in before Sworn Enemy was a startup band, and we traveled the country with a lot of bigger bands as a support band, and it was great.
Yeah.
But when we went back to those markets to headline, it was a lot of those shows where, you know, you drive for 10 hours to play for 11 people.
Right.
And, you know, it's demoralizing, but at the end of the day, you're there to play for those 10 people.
Sure.
And I've been lucky enough that I haven't had to like pretend to have a good time or pretend that I care about the show. When I start playing, I just care about playing, and that doesn't matter. You know, I'll find a person to play to.
Right.
As long as I can find that one connection, I'm good.
Right.
You know?
And those people do pay their money too.
Sometimes there's somebody in the front row, you know? So
yeah, and those people do, as you said, they do deserve a good show. They did pay to come in and watch, you know. I mean, you know.
And those are the people that come back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess the idea is, like, if you do that enough times, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 people show up, start telling their friends, hey, you got to come see this live band. It's something special.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you build a grassroots following.
Is it more unnerving though to come out in front of like that small crowd of 10 people, and maybe they're really out there with their phones and they're close up and they can really kind of kind of critique everything that you do? Or do you like those big shows like you just put up on your Facebook where it's just a big sea of fucking people? Is it easier to play to one or the other, or is the mindset the same for both?
The thing that I've been realizing now that I'm getting more used to playing these big outdoorsy things, sometimes it's harder to hear outdoors.
Yeah.
Sometimes those little clubs, I'll have a better show just because I can hear everything better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as transfer of like energy goes, I don't know. It's hard because there's some stuff like that Grease show. I'll use an example that we just played. That was a powerful audience, and there was like something between us. But then Grass Pop the next week, there was something special there too.
Yeah.
So it's still special, but it's a different special, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And you notice a different dynamic between and I certainly don't want to impugn our American audiences. I'm an American audience member. I live here. I go to concerts. But do you see the difference in American audiences and European audiences? Is there a difference to you that you see? Because it certainly seems like European audiences, and I've said this on episodes before. They have a lot of festivals over there. A lot more extreme metal festivals, certainly, than us. And they always seem to go off, relatively without a hitch. You don't hear about a lot of the riffraff and the bullshit that we get here sometimes. They really seem like they're truly there to celebrate the music.
Well, we're having more festivals here. That's something that's relatively new, right? Do we agree on that?
Yeah.
Like a lot of these festivals, like Blue Ridge, Incarceration has been around a while. There's more of them now, and I think like people are starting to follow suit, so hopefully it will become better here. So I'm not really sure how to answer your question. The only thing I can say is from my travels, sometimes I feel like art is more valued in other places in the world than it is in America.
Yeah.
Art in general.
Yeah.
As far as music goes, I'm not really sure how to respond to that because there's plenty of young kids who are rapid about the bands that they love. We're in an aging scene, in an aging environment where, people just don't have the ability to go see 5-6 shows.
Right.
Right.
You
got to pick and choose what you're going to see. You can't follow your favorite band anymore because you got a day job and kids and all that other shit.
Yeah.
So it could just be timing. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to make it be like Americans don't care about music because that's definitely not the case.
Right. And within the infrastructure of Agnostic Front, though, and again, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't seem like there's any slowing down with these guys at all. But in your travels, have these guys ever alluded to any kind of a stop date? I get the feeling that these are the kind of guys that are just going to play this till the fucking wheels fall off.
You just said exactly what they've been saying when the wheels fall off. I'll stop when I'm dead. That's the thing that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody's played injured. Everybody's played sick.
Yeah.
The show goes on. I don't think the band's canceled any shows in the 2 years I've been playing with them.
Yeah. And does it make it more difficult because like you guys are spread out a little bit more? I know from reading Roger's book now he's out more near the West Coast, right? Out in the Arizona area there.
Yeah, he's out in Arizona.
And then the rest of you guys are kind of here in the Northeast.
Well, Vinny's still in Manhattan. Mike's been living in Jersey for a while.
Okay.
Craig's in Boston. No, Craig's not in Boston, but he's outside Boston.
Yeah.
So Mike and I and Vinny get together pretty frequently.
Yeah.
Craig comes down pretty frequently too. And Roger, we see him on tour. We see him at shows.
Yeah.
We don't really need him for rehearsal. We send tapes of what we're doing back and forth, through the internet. We'll send Roger clips of rehearsal. I like this, change that. This is okay.
Yeah.
We're all in constant communication with the music and everything like that. I don't think it's really made it too difficult. The fact that Mike is here and I'm here, like I don't want to call us the nucleus of the band because that kind of sounds shitty.
Yeah.
But as long as Mike and I are playing together, Vinny and Craig can fall in, and Roger, that's what he does. He just falls in, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, Craig's on top of his guitar playing. We don't ever have to worry about him.
Yeah.
So Mike, really, what it comes down to is Mike making sure that I know how to make the set flow. That's really what it comes down to.
And forgive me for not having this in front of me. The last new Agnostic Front music, though, that came out when? When's the last time Agnostic did something new?
right before the pandemic started.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Get Loud came out in 2019, I believe. And it's
And-
a good record, and it
Yeah.
sucks because it didn't get any attention because all the touring got pulled.
Yeah.
You know, I think they did Persistence in January, and then by the time they got back, everything had gotten canceled for the next year.
Yeah. And are there any plans for any new AF music?
There has to be a record eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the particulars of it, but I know that there's going to be the request for a new record at some point. So we have that in the back of our minds, and we're chipping away a little bit here and there when we're together. But yeah, I mean, there's no plan to not do a record.
Right.
We haven't set a date to record anything, but that's looming in the background. We all know it.
And what do you anticipate the creative process will be like? Because obviously Roger and Vinny being such fixtures in that band, do you feel like the creative process, speaking as a band here collectively, do you think it'll be collaborative, or do Roger and Vinny kind of take the lead with a lot of stuff?
Dude, these guys are a band. Like,
yeah.
Everybody has to do something. You know? There's not one person in this band who's coming in, at least that I've seen yet, with completed, polished songs. Here, learn this. I haven't experienced that with these guys. It seems like they're an ingredients band.
Yeah.
At least from my experience. So
I love that. That's a good term. Yeah. That's a good term. So it's very democratic then. So anybody can kind of just say, "Hey, I've got an idea for a song here."
Yeah, I think from what I've seen so far, is everything gets listened to. Whether it gets used or not is a different story altogether. But like, nobody gets shut down just because, oh, your last idea sucked. We're not going to listen to this. Yeah.
Now I'm 50 years old. So, I mean, I certainly have a very different idea, to the answer to this question. But I'm curious, and I've asked other guys on here from the hardcore scene. I had Paul Bearer on from Sheer Terror. He had a very different answer because he's even older than I am. But your own hardcore Mount Rushmore, who would be up there?
Oh, geez.
Might have to burn some bridges here, Danny. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Roger and Vinny have to be up there.
AF's got to be up there, yeah.
I got to put Mike and Craig up there, too. I can't put two without the others.
No, I'm talking about band-wise. I'm talking about band.
All right, cool. So it's not just people?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so AF's got to be up there.
Yeah.
Right? I guess the Cro-Mags got to be up there, too, right?
Yeah.
They were OG. Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
How many can I pick? 5, right?
Four people on Mount Rushmore.
I don't even know geography anymore. All right, so who else am I going to throw up there? See, that's a hard one because that last spot could be occupied by a lot of bands.
Sure.
I kind of want to throw a newer one in there. I want to throw Biohazard up there.
Okay, fair enough. I respect it. It's tough to get them all up there because then you start thinking about, geez, what about the Madballs and the Sick of It Alls and all those kind of, I mean, it's hard.
How am I not going to put Sick of It All up there? That's exactly. Yeah. Crown of Thorns should be up there too.
Yeah. I'm very eager to, I've always heard great things about, and I started out like a metal kid, so I kind of had to go backwards. I kind of worked backwards and got into hardcore like later because I was like a thrash metal kid growing up or whatever. So
that's the same experience I have.
Yeah, so I kind of had to go back and kind of do my homework and kind of clean up on my hardcore stuff. So I haven't had the luxury of seeing a lot of those bands, but here in September though, I'm hoping to make it out to Syracuse to see Madball. I've always heard great stuff about Madball live in concert though.
That's a dope show, man.
Yeah.
High energy. It's great. They're a great live band. I've gotten to tour with them a bunch in different various bands I've been in.
Yeah.
They're always a good time.
Yeah. And I feel like, no disrespect to Roger, because obviously Freddie is his younger half brother, so he obviously learned from the best. But I feel like in a lot of ways, though, he's really become like the template for like a hardcore front man. Though, I mean, I just hear great things about him and like what he does live. I mean,
passing the fire, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you learn from the best. I know. So, going back to your own upbringing, how early on did you say in your mind, like, geez, I really want to explore music as a career path? Like, did you have designs on doing anything else? Like, kids want to be baseball players or firemen or astronauts, whatever. Did you have anything else ever that you were passionate about and then found music, or was the goal always music?
Well, I kind of didn't know what like a career in music would be like. I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
I had been playing in bands since I was like 12. So it's always something I did on the side.
Yeah.
But to this day, I still don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I would do for a career if I wasn't teaching music and playing drums, Like, there was a point where I thought maybe I'll become a cop, maybe I'll become an electrician, a couple of stints doing odd jobs, Like I've done a lot of construction, a lot of house painting.
Yeah.
I was a dog groomer for a little while. Like, there's all sorts of shit that I tried. But, as far as like playing music, opportunities just kept presenting themselves every time I was ready to stop.
Yeah.
Something else would be like, hey, but do this first and then stop.
Right.
Just that, fortunately, hasn't stopped.
And
so here I am.
And Agnostic Front as a band, though, do you feel like there'll come a point in time, or have they alluded to anything? Obviously, we just spoke that they're not slowing down at all. But when you guys plan out the tour itinerary, obviously, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes people have a job that keeps them tethered to an area, and they don't have the luxury to be able to travel a lot, or they got an old lady, or they got kids, or whatever. I mean, how do you guys map out that itinerary and make it work for everybody?
Well, you mean like for our audience, or like band members?
Touring. Yeah, like touring. Like when you guys like sit around and say, geez, is this going to work if we go out for like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever? I don't know what you guys are comfortable at this stage of the game. But, how does that work, finding that tour dynamic that works for everybody?
Honestly, dates are just presented to me. I'm never asked about anything.
Yeah.
This is the way I imagine it works, and I don't know if this is how it works, right?
Yeah.
I'm imagining Roger is probably looking at paperwork, crunching numbers, and if it makes sense, he kicks it over to us.
Yeah.
I don't think we see anything that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I also would hope that he's not getting ridiculous offers that don't make sense at this point.
Right.
Like MAD handles our booking in Europe.
Yeah.
And Stormy Shepherd handles our North American bookings. And, between them two, like, those are legit people.
Yeah.
They're not going to entertain nonsense. So
right.
I think a lot of nonsense probably gets, caught in the spam filter with those guys.
Yeah. And Roger, though, is primarily, and, I've watched the Godfathers of Hardcore documentary. It seems like Roger really takes the reins when it comes to the business side of stuff.
He's so DIY and hands-on. Like,
yeah.
And I mean that in like an admirable way, not like a control freak way.
Right.
No, he, it's his band, man. Him and Vinny have been doing this a long time. And, you can't really say anything to that, right? How are you going to say anything to a guy who's been there from day one?
I know. And especially in such a grueling, as you mentioned, they're this far into their career and they're still willing to put themselves out there and accept a certain amount of discomfort to do like what they love. You know what I mean? Like, as you made mention about him traveling and just, geez, man, this is not the most ideal of conditions, but yet here these guys are still doing it,
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'll bet you cash money.
Yeah.
That,
Speaks
especially
volumes.
that first tour we did, Roger would have been way more comfortable at home.
Yeah. Now, what was the impetus for you entering the band? And of course, this is, in the extreme metal world, anytime I'm going to get my bullet points to talk to anybody, invariably I go research people, go down that rabbit hole on Google, and you always seem to end up on the Wikipedia page. And you see these bands, a lot of them have that laundry list of the ex-members or whatever. Hardcore bands are legendary for that too. As you said, just about everybody in New York has played with everybody else's band or whatever. But your particular circumstances, how do you enter and Pokey Mo goes? Like, what was his reason for you? Is it just personal issues, just didn't want to do it anymore?
I came in after the fact, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. So you were just
that might be a Craig question,
Okay. Yeah. That's fair enough.
I'll tell you this, from what I understand, everybody's cool. There's no bad blood.
Yeah.
I asked about that coming in. I was like, I don't want this gentleman to be upset with me.
Right.
Like, don't worry about it. It's fine. So,
yeah.
The last time I saw Pokey, I was filling in with Walls of Jericho, and we played at Reload Fest. And he came up to me after the show, and he had like such nice things to say to me.
Yeah.
Like I really kind of felt shitty, taking over the drum throne. I was like, this dude is really nice to me. And if I'm doing something that's going to hurt him, I don't feel good about that.
Right.
From what I understand, it's, everything's for the best and everybody's happy.
And as you get older, and playing like this kind of music, and obviously you mentioned that you're not, in the same age bracket as the other AF guys, but as you drum and you get older and you play this kind of music, Do you notice the dynamic in your own life changing as far as, because it is very physically demanding, and have you had to make any changes to your style of play or the preparations that you do out on the road?
Yeah, a little bit. So I study drumming, especially the body mechanics of it. I've taken lessons with a lot of hand specialists and technical specialists. So I'm constantly readjusting the way I move and how I play, and, you know, how I'm impacting my body, especially as I've been getting older. So one of the things, I have some kind of weird shoulder thing going on. It's not pain, it's just weirdness. So I bought everything on the right side of my kit down a little bit so I can play down at it instead of holding up for it.
Right.
So that's been a little bit of a change. But if anything, I think my technique is still getting better.
Right.
Like, you know, learning how to make the drumsticks do the work for you.
Yeah.
That's something that's been like a lifelong mission of mine. So I'm finding now, like when I listen to playbacks and I watch myself play, because I'm always watching the concerts, so I critique everything I do.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm playing any lighter than I ever have, but I feel like I'm using less force to do it.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah.
It's just, I think it's just part of getting older and getting better. You know, I practice a lot. Like if you find me on tour, I'm somewhere with a drum pad playing for a couple of hours before we go on. It does two things. It keeps me out of trouble, and it, you know, keeps me practicing. You know, I'm not like off overeating or, you know, doing stupid shit where I might get hurt or anything like that. Like I'm buckled down and I'm practicing. It's not so much warming up. It's really practicing.
I have to ask because I work in healthcare, so my day job is as a nurse. So I sometimes I don't want to go there, but I always have to fucking ask. Like when people are getting older, are they making changes? How's their body? How's their body adapting to? And especially when I get drummers on here, because that is such a physically grueling job, especially like when you're playing extremely. I'm not a drummer myself or a musician, but when you're playing that fast and playing that ferocious. And it's not even just something that you have to do. It's something that's kind of even expected of you playing that kind of music. You know what I mean? You're putting on like a performance.
Well, you know what? You just actually jogged something in my memory. You know what has become an issue? Load in and load out.
Yeah.
The show part of it really hasn't changed much, but carrying heavy cases and amplifiers and stuff like that, like I've become super aware of that, because you can tweak your knee real bad.
Yeah.
You know, that first day of the Sick of It All tour, we tried to move the trailer. We had to like lurch it out of a thing, and I dislocated my middle finger. Like, I know. And I had to deal with that the whole tour. So split second things that like probably wouldn't have hurt me 10 years ago. Now you have to pay for it for like a 6-week run. You know.
Yeah.
So I've become especially aware of how I'm stepping and how I'm picking things up.
Yeah. Body mechanics. Yeah.
Body mechanics. Yeah. So did that answer your question? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, seeing you guys about a year ago here in my neck of the woods, when you guys play live, and of course, there's certainly going to be lots of people out there watching this who haven't experienced a hardcore show or specifically AF live. If they haven't and they want to go see you guys, what would you say the experience of coming to see an AF show is really like? Because the one thing that I do love about hardcore and metal in general is that communal exchange of energy between like the band and the audience. It seems like when I'm watching that show, that the minute Roger hits the stage, the minute you guys hit the stage, it just keeps getting ramped up, and the shows almost seem to get better as they go on. A lot of times like a set will start to like lose energy, and you're just like, oh God, are they in their last song yet? Is this thing almost fucking over? Hardcore or just extreme metal or hard rock metal in general is not like that though. There's a momentum build, and you can just kind of feel the whole room, like band and audience kind of coming together as one. Not to sound too hokey or whatever, but that's the experience that I get from it.
I'm on both sides of that, because I go to shows and I play shows, so I get that. So I can't speak for every other band, but I know this. Roger reads the crowd. Yeah. And he's real good at giving them whatever the song that comes next is going to be. Yeah. He knows that that's going to be the thing that kicks them in the ass and gets them going even harder than they did for the next the song previous. Yeah. He's really good at reading the audience. Yeah. So that's kind of how we do it, That's why sometimes our set changes night to night, Right. Roger will be like, all right, I'm getting this kind of energy from the audience. Let's give them this song. Yeah. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, that helps to have a guy that can do that though, because I think that's important, man. Making adjustments on the fly in the rock and roll business. You know, you got to have that one guy in the band who's, or if you have multiple guys, I mean, that's even better. But having a front man who's plugged into shit like that, that's got to be a huge benefit.
Dude, growing up in New York and going to Roseland and Irving Plaza and like all these like iconic clubs, I can't tell you how many times I've seen frontmen have a shit fit meltdown on stage in the show.
Sure, yeah.
It's lame.
Yeah.
So like if the audience isn't vibing your way, like, maybe try something new. Don't get pissed off.
Yeah. So. And when you're teaching the drums, to take a left turn, when you're teaching, are you seeing a lot of kids, like I know I asked specifically about hardcore music, man. But what's the general vibe of what kids are coming in like nowadays and wanting to learn? Because the music business has changed so much. And, I'm a 50-year-old guy and the podcast has made me a lot better about doing this, trying to reach out and give younger bands a platform and not be that old codger who just when he gets a chance to listen to music, goes back and listens to the shit that he liked in the 80s. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to be that guy. It's hard not to because you got so
if you look at my Spotify playlist, you'd see it's all that shit.
You got so few time during the course of a day that when you get some time to listen to music for your own enjoyment, it's hard not to go back and lean on the stuff that you really like. You know what I mean? But what do you see a lot of these kids coming in and wanting to learn? Is there still hope for the rock/metal world out there? Are kids still interested in learning it?
Honestly, man, I deal with a lot of younger students at this point right now.
Yeah, very young, you mean.
A lot of them don't really listen to music yet. So my hope is that they're just going to find some shit that they dig and fall in love with it.
Yeah.
The older kids where I teach, they were real excited when my chem came back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the shit that they're into. I mean,
a
lot of them love metal.
Yeah.
Just because like I think metal has become, a lot of those metal bands become branded. Like today, there was a kid at the school wearing a Skinless shirt, and I was like, "Where did you even find that?" Like you listen to Skinless? Yes, I love Skinless. I was like, all right,
it's pretty extreme
great.
too.
Yeah. So a lot of the metal bands. The other thing too is kids' parents. A lot of the kids that are taking lessons where I'm teaching right now, a lot of their parents are into music, and they're like, "Yo, you got to check this band. You got to check that band out."
Yeah.
Like this kid I teach over in Baldwin, his parents are huge into hardcore, so they bring him to shows.
Yeah, that's cool.
This
Good
kid's
parenting.
like 10, and he's been to like 3 shows already.
Yeah.
He came to see AF.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Yeah. I was just about to ask, has he come to see you guys yet?
Yeah. 2 of my students came. It was great. Like 2 of my young students came. Their parents bought them. We played in Brooklyn. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and they trooped it out, man. And they stayed and they watched us play, and
that's
cool.
It was cool. Yeah, that's cool. Now, when you're not playing drums or working or teaching drums or whatever, man, on the personal side of things, man, like what are you doing like in your personal life to stay out of trouble, hobbies and shit like that? Like you mentioned working out before, exercising.
I exercise a lot. I train Brazilian jiu-jitsu a couple of days a week.
Okay.
I just like to hang out with my wife, like I'm fine just sitting on the couch watching TV with her. I read. I try to read a couple of pages a day from whatever book I'm reading.
Yeah.
Whether it be a music theory book or a self-help book or something like that.
Yeah.
Practice time, aside from the drums and aside from teaching, is a big part of my day too.
Yeah.
Just sitting with the piano or sitting with the drums and just, trying to figure out better ways to do things. So even if I try to get away from music, it's still there a big chunk of my day. But jiu-jitsu and working out is probably the other main outlet I have. And
I'm interested, as someone who takes a martial art, does that, do you see that bleed into your playing or your music? Because obviously, like one of the big, when you see martial arts schools advertise whatever discipline they're teaching, a lot of the focus is on, building discipline. Building a strong mindset, building, it's not always just the physical attributes, but it's a lot of the other, a lot of the ancillary stuff that the martial arts can provide. Yeah. Do you notice that as a benefit in your creative and in what you do for a living? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because I started training at 34 years old. Yeah. And it taught me to be a beginner again. And it kind of changed my entire life because I learned to be patient with myself and treat myself like a beginner, Yeah. And as far as like this whole idea of the belt system, right? White, blue, purple, brown, black. Right. To say I'm a white belt at something just makes me feel like limitless. Okay. Right.
Like you're,
Right.
and it kind of translates to my students too. Like if I'm getting frustrated with a kid that isn't getting an idea, I'm like, dude, don't be pissed at him. He's a white belt. You know?
Right. Right.
Like that's a huge way to perceive things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's been really actually really nice to, you know, even taking a new musical concept, you're a white belt at it. You're going to suck.
Right.
But if you stay at it, eventually you will become a black belt at this.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's been huge. The
And where did
mindset
that
transformation was crazy.
Where did that interest come in for doing that? Like, were you always one of those kids who was running around like interested in karate or martial arts or those kind of movies? Or did this just all of a sudden just, you know, because you said you started at 34 years old. Had you had any previous interest in combat sports or combat or any of that stuff?
Yes and no. So the way it happened before jiu-jitsu is I got interested in weightlifting. And I was going to this gym in Franklin Square, and this gentleman, Fred, was running the place. And I had always kind of been interested in boxing, and I met Chris Padilla there, who's a PBA boxing coach.
Yep.
So I started boxing with him at like 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I did that on and off probably until I was like 25, 26.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, I was playing in a band with Billy from Biohazard, and he introduced my brother and I to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
He introduced us to Matt Serra. And I had taken some jiu-jitsu lessons with him, and I was taking private karate lessons with this guy, Adele, who's an Egyptian karate champion. And, you know, the band took off, not monetarily, but time-wise.
Right.
Ate all my time. I stopped training. My brother kept training, eventually earned a black belt under Matt Serra. And at some point, he decided that I needed jiu-jitsu in my life.
Yeah.
So he bought me a year membership, and that was probably for my 34th birthday.
Yeah.
And, you know, I turned 43 this year, and I've just been training the entire time. If I'm not on tour, I go to the gym and I train.
So it started kind of from a boxing standpoint then, because I
was way into boxing when I was younger.
That's my favorite sport. I did a lot of boxing. You see, I got boxing posters and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
like posters back here. I've had a lot of boxers on the podcast. So, I mean, yeah.
Have you talked to Craig Sartori?
Who?
Craig from Sick of It All. He's a boxing genie.
No, but I would like to get him, though. I know they're on tour right now, and I have talked to Lou. They're back in the States July 11th. He's agreed to come on. So,
if you want to talk boxing, man, Craig's an encyclopedia.
Okay.
It's scary how much he knows.
I'll keep that. Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
That would be a whole podcast, Musicians on Boxing.
That's pretty much all I have on here. Yeah, musicians and boxers. but you know, I find boxing or just combat sports, you know, so fascinating because, you know, when you watch sports nowadays, it seems like if it's a team sport, you know, there's a lot of you know, especially when I watch the NBA, you know, every play they're throwing their hands up or they're looking for a whistle or they're pointing a finger at, you know, we fucked up because the coach or, you know, this guy didn't get me the ball or the quarterback's throwing too many interceptions or whatever. I like that idea of just like mano a mano. And I know those guys can sometimes say after a fight, oh, yeah, I'm getting rid of my trainer. But for the most part, those guys don't really bitch and complain a lot. It's just one guy against another guy. And it's kind of like, you know, you got no excuses to make at the end of it all, you know? I like that.
And it's also, you know, those guys also understand anybody can have a bad day.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just not your day.
Yeah.
You know, that shit's up to the universe, man.
Yeah. And when you're out playing in the hardcore world, you know, well, I'll word it a different way. Have you ever had to actually use the jiu-jitsu?
Thankfully, no.
That's good. Okay.
Thankfully, no. The experience that I've had traveling is most people are super respectful.
Yeah.
And I have enough wits about myself. If I see shit going somewhere I don't want it to go,
yeah,
I frequent fly, you know,
yeah,
I get the fuck out of Dodge. I'd like to think my situational awareness is good enough that if I see a problem, I dip.
Yeah.
Know? I don't leave anybody behind that I'm worried about, you know, like, hey, we should probably get out of here. This is going a place we shouldn't go.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with learning martial arts is, you know, how dangerous things can get, how quickly that can happen,
sure,
and how fast shit can get out of control.
Yeah.
You know, how many times do you hear stories about two drunks fighting, one guy falls, breaks his head, he's dead,
yeah,
and this other guy's got, you know, legal problems for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So I fully am aware of that every time anything is going on.
Yeah.
And I want nothing to do with it.
There's not much out there that's worth it. There's really not. You know?
No, man, it's really not. I mean, the likelihood of you seeing these people ever again is zero.
Right.
You know? Yeah, if somebody's getting aggressive, I try to get out of there, or I tell a security guard, that's
Yeah.
their job. That's not my job when I'm there. My job there is to play.
Yeah.
And even when I'm home, if if I'm in like Wawa or some shit and this has happened, there's a lot of drug addicts out there, man.
Yeah.
People are doing squirrely shit places.
Yeah.
I always grab my wife and I get the fuck out because I don't want to have to test this shit.
Yeah. And do you get to go see as a fan? You're obviously playing a lot of shows, but do you get to go actually see a lot of shows?
Well, yes and no. I see a lot of shows when I'm on the road because I get to go see them.
Right.
So that happens. When friends come to town, I always try to go see them.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've been really bad about going to concerts the last year because I've just been away from home so much. Also, there's not a whole lot of good shows coming through where I live right now.
Yeah.
It also comes down to that. If there's cool shit happening, I will go see it.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of stuff because I'm away so much.
Yeah. I get that a lot because, I'm here up in upstate New York. The closest big city to me is Syracuse. And so anytime I tell people, oh, I'm from New York, they automatically want to know like what borough. Like they can't wrap their head around there's any other part of New York but the city.
You can drive for 10 hours and still be in New York, buddy.
Right. And so I pretty much just tell people, no, look, there's the New York City that with the Empire State Building and all that shit, and then everything else is pretty much upstate. You know what I mean? Like it is
where I live, and then there's upstate.
Right, and then there's upstate. Okay, so this usually winds up being one of the more polarizing questions, which is why I save it for the end, Danny. But if I have to drop Danny on a desert island, what's the album he's bringing with him? What's the desert island pick? And I must add the caveat here because someone did get me, and you mentioned soundtracks before, which made me think of this. No greatest hits compilations, or I must now say soundtracks because I had to invoke this new rule because somebody did get me with the soundtracks, and they picked the Forrest Gump soundtrack. Which is a great soundtrack, though. A lot of great classic rock on there.
Why wouldn't they have picked Castaway?
I know. I mean, to each his own, I guess, but.
Well, because the desert island.
Yeah, right. That's true. And I guess we just have to say that, for people that have also thrown the curveball at me, like, how am I listening to this album that washes up with me? You've got a solar-powered fucking stereo there. I don't know.
Hey, man, I just have it imprinted on my brain, so.
Okay.
All right, so I only got one, right?
Okay. Yep.
I'm going to go. Let's see. Let me think about this for a second.
And now this is tough, Danny. Danny. Like while you're rolling this around your head, I will say that the reason that this usually is tough, and I've said this on other episodes, is because, when you're on this island and you're dying with this album, I mean, which more or less you're going to do, you are going to go through a lot of different emotions. I don't know that you necessarily want something that's heavy all the time or wimpy all the time. So it is very tough.
But you know what, man? I have an answer for this because there's a record that I listen to consistently all the time, and it's an oddball one.
Okay.
The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here by Alice in Chains.
Wow, really?
I listen to that shit all the time. I keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
It's not even my favorite, but it's just, it calms me. And it also, like, this is the thing. I can listen to it when I'm trying to fall asleep on a flight.
Yep.
Or I can run to it.
Yeah.
It does both for me.
Yeah, and I like the fact that I've obviously got a nice carving there of Lane Staley there, one of my favorite vocalists of all time, man. So you mentioned Sean Kinney's drumming earlier, so I can obviously kind of tell that you certainly have an affinity for this band.
I do.
And so you like the I've had a hard time, but I'm trying to be much better. For a while, I was such a purist and I wouldn't listen to anything post Lane Staley's death. But I have come to appreciate what William brings to the band, though.
Dude. Those records that they put out with him are great.
Yeah.
They're not what we grew up with. And you just have to accept that,
Yeah.
But I have not met anybody in that band. I chickened the shit out my one chance to meet Jerry Cantrell that happened last year. I was stuck in a room with him because there was a storm and we got evacuated off of the Daytona Freeway.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Daytona Speedway.
Yeah.
I pushed out. I should have gone and talked to him.
Yeah.
But the stories that I've read about what it was like for them to put this band back together.
Yeah.
Just, you have to give it a chance.
Yeah.
Just because it was so emotional for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't a band that was doing a cash grab.
No.
This shit happened organically.
Yeah.
There was that horrible tsunami that they started, doing benefits for.
Yep.
And then they just tested the waters with a couple of other singers. And then, they decided that they were going to put this record out. And that Black Gives Way to Blue record.
Awesome.
If you just, dude, yeah. I mean, I got chills. The first time I heard the lead single, that one where they have William kind of sing like Lane during that one part.
Yeah.
Like I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gave that record a shot, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way, man. It takes me a long time to get into shit. And that record that I mentioned, the Dinosaurs record, it took me a long time to get into it because at first it didn't catch my attention.
Yeah.
But after a couple of spins, you know, and a lot of my favorite records are like that too.
And I think it's hard. I think it's hard with vocalists too, man, because like a vocal is, and that's not to impugn what other people's roles in the band are, but a lot of times, you know, and there certainly are guys with their own unique tone. I don't know that you could pull Eddie Van Halen out of Van Halen and put another guitar player in there and just make that swap. But for the most part,
don't try, man, because I hate that shit.
But for the most part, a band really does become synonymous, like with a front man and a voice. It just happens a lot, you know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people were kind of like, no more Lane Staley, no more Alice in Chains, you know?
But the reason they could survive is because Lane wasn't the main writer.
Right.
His voice was so important to that band.
Yeah.
And, you know, even the band changed too when they changed bass players. That definitely changed.
Yeah.
And I like the way it changed. I don't not like Mike Starr's playing, but you're really going to tell me that Mike Inez isn't one of the best bass players on the planet?
Phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah.
He's awesome. So,
I mean, if Ozzy Osbourne's tapping you for his band, you know what I mean? Then,
exactly.
You know,
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, musically, he's good. He stands up. But like Gary Cantrell's songwriting, I don't know if you ever checked out any of his solo stuff. His solo stuff's real cool too.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, an extremely talented guy. Well, hey, I like a guy that answers that question with some fucking confidence, man. A guy that doesn't deliberate a lot. Us New Yorkers don't fuck around. We're definitive on that shit, man. You didn't sit and deliberate. I've had guys on here that are like, oh, let me really think about that. You know, let's talk a little bit and let me roll that around in my head. You knew right where you were going with that.
You want to know my runner-up?
Yeah.
Life is Killing Me, Type O Negative.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. And like I said, I just recently had Joe Cangelosi. He's another New York drummer. He's out doing the Carnivore AD thing right now. You know what I mean? It made me think of that when you mentioned Type O, and I'm thinking about Peter Steele. You know, that's, another huge talent that we lost too soon. You know?
Yeah,
shame.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see, I got a signed Dimebag poster.
Oh,
signed Type O poster up there.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, before we finish here, you know, I see the Dimebag poster. I've obviously got my Cowboys from Hell tattoo here. You know, they mean a lot to me too. So what do you think about this whole like reunion thing? You got an opinion on it?
I'm actually really not that interested in seeing it. And I really wanted to be, you know, I wanted to be excited about this, and I'm not. And I'm sure if I get to a show, it's going to do something and I'm going to be ecstatic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you, for example, I was watching Guns N' Roses play at Grass Pop. Right. I love Guns N' Roses. I really do.
Me too. Yeah.
Watching them and hearing them were two different things. I was backstage, they were playing, and I was like, wow, this kind of sounds like shit. And I was like, not really enjoying it. And one of the guys I was hanging out with, my friend George, was like, let's go out front and watch. And we went out in front and watched. And it didn't sound great, but I had a great time.
Yeah.
So that might happen with Pantera, you know, as an analyst, I'm watching it and I'm not loving it, but at the decibel level that it's playing at, where you're feeling every note. Yeah. And, you know, the transmission of energy. Yeah. Like maybe I'll love it. And I hope I do. But right now I'm really not that interested in it.
I'm really, it's coming in August here to Syracuse to our amphitheater. And it's a great bill. You know, I mean, I know they're going to be linking up with Metallica eventually. That's not the one coming here, though. It's Lamb of God in Pantera, which is a great lineup or whatever. But I kind of feel the same way, too. But then I think, you know, it's got to be awesome, though. I mean, they got Charlie from Anthrax. They got Zakk Wylde. You know, I mean, they certainly got good guys to plug into Diamond Vinny's spots. You know, I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, but I wanted to feel more excited about it, too.
Different than metal drummers.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't play like a metal drummer. He plays so behind the beat. Even when he plays fast, he's still moving in slow motion. Yeah. Like, that's a real hard thing to replicate. I don't play guitar, so I can't attest to, you know, what the difference is between Zakk Wylde and, you know, Dime were. But, like, Charlie's really got a tough job to try to play in that style because it's not metal.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I know. But there is a big argument. I like what people say, though, you know, like when they do get Pantera, they're just due about how much they flew the flag for metal, you know, during the 90s, man, because it seemed like it was really getting away from us in the 90s. You know, there was a big swell with country. And, of course, you know, the first 5 years of the 90s, and, you know, grunge was really huge. And then hip hop kind of really.
Display of Power.
Yeah, and then Vulgar Display of Power was pretty much just there, just keeping, you know, just flying the flag for us.
How many times did you get to see them?
I've only seen them once, but I did see them with the original guys, though. I did see them so I did get to see them with Diamond Vinny, though. And ironically enough, I got to see them, and they actually played with Anthrax right here in Utica, and it was great because it was the who's the guy that took over for Joey there? Was it John Corabi who was singing for Anthrax for a little while there?
Oh, the Sound of White Noise singer, right?
Yeah.
Shit, what the fuck is his name? I love that record too.
It's John somebody. I believe it's Corabi. I could be wrong.
No, that's the Motley Crue dude.
That's the Motley Crue dude. Yeah, who the fuck sang for them back? John
Bush.
Yeah. And ironically enough, at that show, when they launched into Indians, Joey actually came out and sang with them, which was wicked cool.
Oh, he lives up there, right?
Yeah. He's actually a Syracuse, New York guy too. Our Oswego. Yeah, he's right up the road. He does a lot of gigs here at our local casino with.
He plays drums and sings, right?
He's got a project called Chief Bigway, and I went to see Whitesnake one night. I took my wife and another couple, and we went to see Whitesnake up at the casino. And we had some time to kill beforehand, and we went down to this basement bar. And yeah, Joey's down there jamming, and they're doing like, classic rock stuff, Van Halen tunes, and Lynyrd Skynyrd type shit. You know what I mean? And I'm watching, and he's kind of behind like a pillar, and I'm like, I see these guys out in the front of the stage, and I'm like, who the fuck is singing? And then I look back there, and there's Joey. He's singing and doing drums. Got to meet him afterwards. I mean, a thrash icon. He's a legend.
Yeah. And
then here he is at this little dive bar, downstairs at this casino, and he's playing with his cover band, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a musician right there. I will play anywhere I can.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize though, man, but he is a pretty damn good drummer.
Yeah. I think I've seen him play like Don't Stop Believing and Sing It or something.
He's
like a difficult thing to play and a difficult thing to sing. And he did them together.
Well, what can you expect from us fucking New Yorkers, right? I mean, I don't mean to toot our own horns, but I mean, we're the most fucking talented. And of course, the New York hardcore scene, I'll fight tooth and nail with anybody, man. Irregardless of where else hardcore is coming from in this world, when asked where the greatest scene is, the correct answer is New York hardcore, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think I don't even think there's much of a debate, really. I mean, I don't know if people want to leave comments in the comment section and fucking throw up their particular city or town, but I think you're going to fall well short if we can start naming off New York hardcore bands. I mean, I don't think anybody could keep up. You mentioned some earlier, Murphy's Law, Warzone, Biohazard, AF. I mean, we've got the market cornered.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you start traveling and you go to other places with like, good hardcore scenes, they still don't have the same number of bands.
No.
Or the longevity of it,
Yeah, or the longevity. Right. That's the key. Well, listen, I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this, Danny. This has been super fucking fun talking to you, man. Yeah, and hopefully we can keep in touch and we can do it again on down the road. And,
Please.
When I put your episode up, I'll send you the link, share it around wherever you want, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you get to talk to Craig. And if you want to talk to Craig from Sick of It All, let me know. I'll get you in touch.
Please do. Yeah. I can tell you right here on air, I definitely want you to do that because hardcore and boxing, I mean, come on, that's a fucking,
it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah. I mean, pass along my contact information to him. Please feel free. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was great doing this, Danny. I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, man. It's good to meet you.
Good talking to you, brother. Later.
Okay.
Take care, man. There he goes, folks. That is Danny LAMAGNA. He is the drummer for Agnostic Front, former drummer for another hardcore band, Sworn Enemy, also fucking legends. The guy just keeps ending up in legendary hardcore bands. Kudos to him, fellow New Yorker, giving great answers to all my questions, especially his Desert Island pick. I mean, come on, I've got Lane back here. I love an Alice in Chains pick. And I myself am trying to warm up to the, to the post Lane Staley, Alice in Chains. But Danny just really inspired me to go back and start unearthing some of that stuff and, go give one of my favorite bands that love that they deserve, man. I mean, I miss Lane Staley all the time. One of the greatest rock voices, got me through a lot of fucking tough times, man. But enough about that. That was the great Danny LAMAGNA, the guy behind the kit now for Agnostic Front. And if you don't know who the fuck they are, boom, you just got your metalhead card pulled, or your hardcore card, as it may be. But go back and do your fucking homework, man. I mean, Agnostic Front are the OGs, okay? I mean, hardcore fucking punk hardcore legends. I need not say more. That is undeniable. And also go check out Danny's work with Sworn Enemy, another great, legendary, iconic New York hardcore band. That was a lot of fun. Me and Danny have had to reschedule a couple of times. So glad we finally got the chance to do it, man. That was a great interview. Super fun, man. As I knew that it would be, man. Always great talking to a fellow New Yorker, man. I mean, who's more fun than us? The answer is nobody. New Yorkers know how to get it fucking done. So I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed talking to Danny LAMAGNA. That was a fucking blast. And remember, kids, until we get together and we do this thing again, please remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.